Thanks, everyone, for joining me today. I want to talk about the Respect for Marriage Act that the Senate just passed a week or so ago, and the House is looking at it now, and they probably also are going to pass it. We hear all these things about it, just like we usually do. We hear people on both sides of it, and I watched some of the floor debate on it, but I thought I'm just going to read the bill myself and see what it says. I'm going to share it with you what I find in it, because to me, it's extremely disturbing. And it's called the Respect for Marriage Act, even though it really doesn't respect all marriage. So what I like to do when there's something like this that comes up, I just want to walk through it with you. And it's not very long. It's only a few pages long. So I just want to share with you what actually the bill says, because we hear things, right? And we hear about amendments that were proposed and things like that. And the Senate passed it in this bill, or in this form that I'm actually going to show you here now. So let me actually show it to you, and we're going to work through it just a little bit. Not going to read the whole thing, obviously, but you can see right here, I highlighted a few sections for you. The bill from the House of Representatives was HR 8404, and the Senate, of course, took it up. And this is what they passed. And they're calling it an act to repeal the Defense of Marriage Act, which essentially is what it does. And we'll see that in a little bit. So it says it right here. The act may be titled or may be cited as the Respect for Marriage Act. Now, the truth is it's a respect for a certain kind of marriage act. If you believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, this really just tears that down. And of course, the stated purpose, the way I understand it of this, is when the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade last summer, some people are saying, well, wait, now they're going to overturn Obergefell. By the way, if you have any interest in this and about the whole marriage debate, I want to encourage you, if you haven't already read my book here, it's Inevitable Collision. This is part of my doctoral dissertation, and just talking about how churches need to prepare themselves to be ready to face this kind of thing, and this becoming more and more serious. And I just wish I could keep updating the book because of all these things that are happening. So I'd encourage you to read An Inevitable Collision. You can find it on Amazon or on my website. But so this is cited as Respect for Marriage Act. And again, the main point is respect for gay marriage. That's really the whole point of this whole thing. So it goes on here and it finds out, marriage is very important. No doubt. I think we've kind of known that forever. And talks about how there are diverse beliefs about the role of gender in marriage. Yeah, there are diverse beliefs. Just because people have beliefs doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's true. Okay, so we come down here, and this was interesting right here, including interracial and same-sex couples. So they threw interracial in this. So I just wonder if the people who put this together thought, well, if the Republicans or conservatives vote this down, then it's going to be a racist thing, because everything is racist nowadays, right? So they threw interracial marriage in there, which, yeah, I have no problem with a bill saying that you have to recognize interracial marriage. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, what race are each of us really? We're all a mixture of so many things. Most of us are. And there's nothing in the Bible about that, but there is a biblical teaching about a man and a woman making up marriage. And basically, that's what this whole bill is about, just trying to destroy God's definition of marriage, which we can't do because we did not make up the definition for marriage. We cannot change the definition of marriage. So going on here, this is what it does. Section 3, repeal of section added to Title 28 United States Code by Section 2 of the Defense of Marriage Act. So basically, the Defense of Marriage Act, or DOMA, was signed by President Clinton, and this repeals that. So it's only taken, 29 or something years, I think I heard, and it's gone, right? Get rid of DOMA. You can see how far even Democrats had come. Their president signed it in, and now it's no good. It really kind of started a lot with Obama coming out in support of gay marriage, and now everybody just seems like they can just come out and just say it. So moving down here, okay, so this is where we get to some of the effects of this. On line 23 there, no person acting under of color of law may deny, and then it goes down here to list under state law what you cannot deny. You cannot deny full faith and credit to any public act, record, or judicial proceeding of any other state pertaining to a marriage between two individuals on the basis of sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin of those individuals. So basically, this just means you have to recognize any marriage, basically is what it says. Number 2, that you cannot deny a right or claim arising from such a marriage on the basis that such a marriage would not be recognized under the law of that state on the basis of the sex, race, ethnicity, or national origin of those individuals. So basically, it is saying if you come to my state and you were married as two men or two women in a different state and it was legal in that state, then in this state, it has to be accepted. Okay, so as long as they were married in a state that allows this marriage and you come to our state, we have to recognize that. Basically, that's what it's saying here. And moving on down, enforcement by Attorney General. The Attorney General may bring a civil action in the appropriate United States District Court against any person who violates subsection A that we just looked at. So you can be brought to court if you violate this recognition of marriage, if that marriage was valid in the state where it took place. And we know many states it is now legal to for two men or two women to be married. So, okay, and then it defines state. What is a state? Well, later on, it just describes it, no big deal. I don't think we have to describe what is a state or, DC or whatever. So that's pretty simple. So here under this section here, for the purposes of any federal law, rule, or regulation in which marital status is a factor, an individual shall be considered married if that individual's marriage is between two individuals and is valid in the state where the marriage was entered into. So there it is again. If they have a valid marriage where they got married, then you have to recognize it also in your own state. And it's interesting they keep talking about two individuals. This is very clear. It's about two individuals. Of course, I have a question. How long will it be two individuals? How much longer before marriage can be between three people or four people? You say that's ridiculous. Come on, that's crazy. How many years ago would it have been ridiculous that we were going to have a bill like this being passed? Between two men and two women or whatever. No, that's one day I can see it. One day they're going to repeal this too. And they say, well, it can be between anybody. What about between a person and an animal? What about a person marrying themselves? These are not sci-fi type of things. These are the kind of things that are real out there. And our government is just constantly accepting this. By the way, my Republican senator, one of them, Todd Young, voted for this, and I cannot get an answer from him on why in the world he voted for this. I'd like to have an answer. Why did you go for this thing? He's supposed to be conservative. Okay, our other one did not vote for it. Okay, so moving on down, it says, for purposes of subsection A, in determining whether marriage is valid in a state or the place where entered into, if outside of any state, only the law of the jurisdiction applicable at the time of the marriage was entered into may be considered. So for that marriage to be valid, it has to have taken place in a state when it was legal. It's not like they are married and then later it becomes legal and now you have to accept a marriage. So that's pretty clear on that. So this one here, though, this is where it really gets interesting because we start hearing about how there are religious protections in this bill. This is where the religious protections are. And I would encourage you to look up on YouTube, Senator, is his name Langford? It just slips me right now, but he gave a speech on this on the Senate floor. I thought it was very good. And he brings us out here. Section 6 is the place in this bill where we're supposed to have religious liberty protections. Let's see what it actually says. It says this: nothing in this act or any amendment made by this act shall be construed to diminish or abrogate a religious liberty or conscience protection otherwise available to an individual or organization under the Constitution of the United States or federal law. Okay, so basically all that says is, hey, this law cannot be unconstitutional. Okay, no law is supposed to be unconstitutional, but it's really a bunch of gobbledygook, in my opinion, obviously, because you say, okay, what is a constitutional right to whatever? Well, they're trying to say now there's a constitutional right to marrying whoever you want, and there's no constitutional right for standing against that. So this is really a worthless statement. It's not going to help religious liberty at all, even though it might kind of look like it, but it doesn't help. And then it goes down to this next section, B. Consistent with the First Amendment to the Constitution, which we all know and love, nonprofit religious organizations, including, now pay close attention to what it says here, nonprofit religious organizations, including churches, mosques, synagogues, temples, non-denominational ministries, interdenominational and ecumenical organizations, mission organizations, faith-based social agencies, religious education institutions, and nonprofit entities whose principal purpose is the study, practice, or advancement of religion, and any employee of such an organization shall not be required to provide services, accommodations, advantages, facilities, goods, or privileges for the solemnization or celebration of a marriage. Okay, you say, wow, that sounds pretty good. Churches are immune. Well, hold on a minute here. Okay, there's some decent things in there. What that basically means in my context as a pastor of a church, this bill does not mean that I have to do gay marriages in the church. It means that I do not have to allow our church to be used, our church building to be used for a gay marriage or for a celebration, an anniversary or whatever. I am not required to do that because this is an organization that is specifically designed to, how does it say it? To provide, it says up on line 5 there, whose principal purpose is to study, practice, or advancement of religion. Okay, so church, immune. As a pastor, I'm immune. I'm okay. I can say, I'm not going to do your marriage, your wedding, and that's going to be fine. That's cool. That's awesome. But understand what it does not say. It does not say that you as a business employee or as a business owner, maybe you're like the famed examples of a cake maker. It does not say that you don't have to make a cake celebrating a gay wedding. You make t-shirts. It does not say that you don't have to make t-shirts celebrating a gay wedding. You might be a caterer or whatever. It does give you absolutely zero protection. You cannot say, I don't believe that this is right. I'm not going to do this. This law does not say that. It only protects churches, mosques, and things like that, whose principal job is advancement of religion. So there really is no religious liberty in this. We already can back that up with the First Amendment. This is basically apparently just a way to say, oh, we need to get some of these so-called conservatives on the side, and we'll just throw some religious talk in there. So what this also does not do is if a gay couple comes to your church and they say, hey, we want to join the church. And you say, well, you can't, you're living in sin. Well, you're not protected from that because this specifically only talks about the act of solemnizing or celebrating a marriage. It does not talk about what you do with those who are already part of it. You have people that are involved in a gay wedding or in a gay marriage. They're married together and they come in. You say, well, you can't come in. You can't be part of our church. You can't teach a Sunday school class, or I can't let you stand in the pulpit and preach. You have this sin. Well, now they might turn around and sue you, and you have no protection under this law. It has nothing to do with that except in the solemnization or the celebration of the marriage. So it's horrendous, in my opinion. This is terrible. Let's go down here in this section here. No federal recognition of polygamous marriages. Okay, cool. Oh, they said it. No polygamy. Okay, well, let's see how long that's going to last. Yet, I think it should say. We're not going to recognize it yet, not till that becomes a thing. And then suddenly our parameters of what's right and wrong, that's going to be moved again because we apparently have no moral parameters in our country anymore. By the way, we put these people into office. If you vote for people that support this kind of thing, shame. I did. I voted for Todd Young. I wish I would have known that. A couple weeks later, he voted for this. I wish I would have known that. Just very disappointing. Let's look at the last part. It says, if any provision of this act or any amendment made by this act or the application of such provision to any personal entity, government, or circumstance is held to be unconstitutional, the remainder of this act or any amendment made thereby or the application of such provision to all other persons, entities, governments, or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. In essence, what that's saying is if for some reason part of this law is struck down, maybe by the court, something like that, and it says, well, this part is not constitutional, it means the rest of it still stands. Just because there's one part of this law that is bad doesn't mean they can destroy the whole thing. So there you go. That is the so-called Respect for Marriage Act. As it stands right this moment, the House is debating it, even though I'm not sure there's a whole lot of debate going on. They want to, this is December 2022, and they want to get this done, obviously, before a more Republican majority takes over in January. So it looks like this is going to pass. It'd be surprising if it doesn't. And we as Christians and people who have morals need to be vigilant. We need to know what's going on. So pray for those who are in these positions in our government. Pray for churches. Pray for Christians who just want to stand up and want to do what's right in their place of business, of adoption agencies. You know, that they don't want to adopt children out, place children in homes where there's gay marriages, things like that going on. And this provides no protection for them. So there's a lot of discussion about whether this is even needed, because where since Obergefell, where have there been any lawsuits about this gay marriage? As far as I know, you don't see it, and that's what I'm hearing. Nobody's talking about it. They're just trying to take the Obergefell decision from 2015 and enshrine it into law, because anybody who knows anything about government knows that the Supreme Court can't make law. They interpret law. And so they're trying to make this become actual law of the land. And this is very concerning to me, very concerning about the direction of our country and the direction of Christians, religious leaders, when you hear them talking about this being a good thing. So it's concerning when you stand up against it. Well, I wish I had better news, but that's it for right now. God bless you guys, and Merry Christmas.